Akhona and her friend Portia hurried out of school. A voice called, "Hey Akhona, where are you going? It's basketball practice." The girls did not look back. They dashed round the corner, jumped over a dirty puddle, and knocked on a red door. It opened, and Akhona smiled anxiously. Akhona and Portia came out of the red door. They squeezed past Fidge, the gangster. "Why are you leaving so soon, girls?" he asked. "Groceries don't come cheap, you know," he laughed. They ran. "Akhona, it is so late," said Portia. "I'll tell my grandma I was helping you, okay?" Akhona shrugged. At home, Akhona's brother Simpiwo tugged at the packets she was carrying. "What did you bring, Akhona? I'm so hungry." "Chop these tomatoes," said Akhona. "Oh, but the guys are playing soccer." Mom called, "Stay inside, Simpiwo. It's dangerous on the street after dark." Simpiwo wiped sweat from his face. He reached for his football. The gangster laughed and shoved him. The gang leader held out a knife. "Here," he said. "Take this and get your ball back." Simpiwo backed away. "Take it," said the gangster. "Earn yourself a place in our gang." Svij appeared. "Hey," he yelled. "Leave the boy alone." Svij watched Akhona leave school. She ran to him. "Thanks for chasing those thugs away from my brother," she smiled. "Anything for you, baby girl." Svij kissed her. She hid her face as the teacher passed. Svij laughed. "See you later. I've got something special for your birthday." He strolled away. "Happy birthday, Akhona. Happy birthday to you." Everyone clinked glasses. A drunk man said, "How come you're in grade 8, Akhona? You look at least 16 in that dress." Svij pressed a small pill into Akhona's palm. "Here, try this." That's the last thing Akhona remembered. Portia sat at the table, pulling off her school tie. "What happened to you today, Akhona?" "I'm still dizzy from Saturday." "While you missed the announcement, you've been elected class rep." Akhona beamed. "Oh, and Svij says you're in big trouble for not coming yesterday." Akhona looked worried. The teacher wrote on the board, "Child protection." She said Akhona will start by telling us how gang violence and drugs affect children. A boy sniggered. As Akhona stood up, a gunshot rang out. Everyone froze. A girl skidded into the classroom panting, "Miss, that guy's Svij. He's been shot dead." Akhona's knees went weak with shock. Simpiwo raced round the pitch with his arms out, celebrating the goal. Akhona jumped up screaming, "Laduma!" Mom stood waving. A man strode over. "Morning, ma'am. I'm Pastor Dlamini." "Morning, miss. I noticed you at Svij's funeral. Please join our youth group." Mom smiled and Akhona nodded happily. Yes. At last, life was looking brighter. Akhona carried a tray of biscuits from the oven. It went flying as a ball bounced through the kitchen. Simpiwo followed, sweating. He caught the tray, grabbed a biscuit and raced out. "Hey, they are for the youth group," yelled Akhona. Mom laughed. "Plenty left, Akhona. I'll pack them for you." The pastor thanked Akhona for the biscuits. He held her hand for a long time. "I hear you passed all your exams. I'm proud of you, my dear." Akhona went to practice with the gospel group. Going home, Akhona crossed the road to avoid gang drinking. One boy had a cap like Simpiwo's. Simpiwo snuck in late without his cap. "Where have you been?" hissed Akhona. "No way, I'm going to bed." He pushed past his sister. Mom and Akhona awoke from the sound of gunfire. From the window, they saw police cars and people running outside the petrol station. A neighbor jogged by. "Armed robbery," he called. "Cops shot one lady." Mom found Simpiwo lying on the forecourt, bleeding. She held his hand. "Sorry, Ma," he gasped. "I thought I could protect Akhona if I joined the gang." Half the neighborhood came when they heard Simpiwo was dead. Akhona wept on the pastor's shoulder. His hand rested on her thigh. Pastor Dlamini stroked Akhona's cheek and pressed his leg against hers. "You are a very special young woman. You have been through so much. I believe you have been sent to me to save you from a sinful life. I will cherish you and protect you." One Friday, as Akhona left school, her friend Portia ran up behind her. "Hey Akhona, come home and watch a movie." "I can't. I have to help Pastor Dlamini," Akhona replied, walking on. "Help him with what?" exclaimed Portia. "You go there every weekend. It's like you love him." Akhona didn't tell Portia her secret, that Pastor Dlamini loved her. It was a secret because people wouldn't understand. They would be jealous. He told Akhona they must wait for the right time. Perhaps the 16th birthday would be the right time, thought Akhona, when she discovered she was pregnant. Akhona rushed to meet the pastor at their secret spot. She wore the white dress he bought her. He held her tight and kissed her. But when she whispered, "We're going to have a baby," he pushed her away and screamed with rage, "Child of the devil, so you came to destroy me!" Pastor Dlamini punched Akhona in the face. She fell down and he kicked her in the stomach. While she stopped crying out, he dragged her into his car. Cursing Akhona under his breath, he drove along a dirt track. He parked and rolled Akhona's body down a bank. The sky was turning pale orange when Akhona's mother spotted a crumpled white shape at the bottom of a muddy bank. She had been out all night looking for her daughter. Scrambling over weeds and cans, she reached Akhona's bruised body and cried out for help. "Mrs. Ramaru, Akhona is going to be fine," said the doctor. "I don't know if you're aware, but Akhona was pregnant. I'm so sorry, but the fetus did not survive." Akhona's mother sank to a chair. "I don't understand. She didn't have a boyfriend. She only went to church." Akhona laid in her hospital bed, face bandaged. She stared blankly at her mother. "But Akhona, you must be imagining. Pastor Dlamini could never do such a thing." Back at school, Akhona spoke to no one and stopped doing homework. Her mother took Akhona to consult a traditional healer. "She needs the evil spirits driven out," Mrs. Ramaru explained. "The evil is not inside the child," the healer replied. "Akhona is traumatized and she needs healing." Akhona's mother confided in Portia's granny. "I'll have to find another healer," she said. "Akhona is clearly bewitched." "Maybe the healer was right," said the granny. "Why don't you speak to a social worker?" "There are no social workers here," sighed Mrs. Ramar. Portia overheard. "There's one at school," she said. The first time the social worker, Bulelwa, visited, Akhona was scared to speak. The young woman reassured Akhona that she was a survivor. "The men who claim to care for you are criminals. Adults have a duty to protect children, but they abused you and other vulnerable girls." Gradually, Akhona started telling Bulelwa her life story. "I met Vij when I was 8. He gave me sweets, crayons, a few coins, and asked me and other girls to do things for him. By the time we were about 10, it seemed normal to have sex for gifts or groceries for our family." When Akhona told the story of Pastor Dlamini, she was shaking. "He made me believe I had sinned by being with a gangster, but he would save me. He said I should be with a good man. But when he made me pregnant, he said I had ruined his life." One weekend, Bulelwa introduced Akhona and Portia to Latita from a neighborhood project. "Welcome to our house," said Latita, standing in the yard where pumpkins were growing. "Here, we read, we laugh, we look out for each other, and we dare to dream." Akhona felt as though she was dreaming when she entered the Lulibo safe space. The house was full of young people like her and full of books. Each shelf was a window into worlds she had never imagined. Akhona only read books for school. Now she discovered the joy of novels, comics, and folktales. "What are you reading today?" asked Latita. "Beauty's Gift," said Akhona, by Cindy Makona. She grew up in Gugulethu and became a world-famous author. "Where did you get all these books?" "We do book drives," replied Latita. "People give them to us." "Can I come with you next time?" "Sure." Latita, Akhona, and Portia took a taxi to the shopping mall. They walked to the back of the supermarket. Tabo, the owner, came out and shook Latita's hand. "So how can I help?" he asked. "You grew up here," said Latita. "You know how tough it is. Will you sponsor our work?" "I get a lot of requests," said Tabo. "What is special about your organization?" "You overcame all odds to become successful. We create opportunities for young girls like these to succeed. To do that, they must dare to dream. They must see life outside the township." "Okay, I'll do what I can." The supermarket owner sponsored transport and food for a sports day, a trip to the theater, and a surprise birthday party. The party was at the beach. Akhona recognized the birthday girl. Like her, she was abused by Stitch when she was a young child. Now she was 16, confident and carefree. One day, Akhona arrived at the safe space early. She waited in the garden. She was fascinated by how fast the pumpkins were growing. Their tendrils wound around the gate, spiraling between the wires. The yellow flowers transformed the rusty fence into a beautiful hedge. Latita appeared. "We all grow in the right conditions," she said. By the time the pumpkins were ready to harvest, Akhona had grown to be part of the Safe Space project. She helped organize the annual extravagant campaign to celebrate young people in all their diversity. "What is going on?" asked her mom when she saw the street parade. "Are those girls or boys?" "They are us," laughed Akhona. "We are being extravagant in our skin." Not every day was a celebration. Sometimes Akhona was depressed, full of fears she couldn't express. She sat alone reading, escaping her past in the world of books. Bulelwa checked in sometimes. "Healing can be slow," she said. "You lost your childhood. Take this time to get it back." Akhona thought a lot about what Bulelwa and Latita said. It was true. Her childhood had been stolen, and her brother, her hopes. It was true that she could recover, grow to be the person she dreamed of. "I will start with school," she told herself. "I will succeed." After her brother Simpiwo died, Akhona had spent all her spare time at church youth or with Pastor Dlamini. Now, as exams approached, she realized how much schoolwork she had missed. "I have no plans to repeat grade 11, Akhona told herself. She studied late every evening. Akhona's mom no longer expected Akhona to cook after school. Instead of drinking with her friends, she would prepare umfino or samp and beans, and then sit on the stoop watching the sun go down. Sometimes, Mrs. Rumaru's boyfriend, Vusomzi, would come by for supper. He had joined the search for Akhona, but that was never mentioned. Portia's granny often invited Akhona to study at their house. Later, the girls would eat together. While they cleaned the kitchen, Granny always put an orange or a biscuit in Akhona's bag. At home, things were tough. Akhona's mom had no work, and Vusumzi was a casual laborer. At school, Akhona felt pressure building in her head like it would burst. She listened, she wrote notes, she answered questions about trigonometry, the Angolan War, and Xhosa grammar. But other memories forced their way through. Flashbacks to Svij, her brother's shooting, Pastor Dlamini kicking her. "Akhona, Akhona," the teacher shouted. "Are you with us or are you dreaming?" Akhona looked around, dazed. When the bell rang, she grabbed her bag and ran all the way to the safe space. She plucked off a tiny pumpkin, then sat in a corner squeezing it and staring at a book. Latita called Bulelwa, the social worker. Bulelwa called Mrs. Ramaru. Latita told Akhona, "We are here for you." Bulelwa said, "You have been through a lot. It is normal to have flashbacks." Mom hugged Akhona. "Exam stress is adding to the anxiety," she said. "Take a break. Relax a bit." "Great shot, Akhona," shouted Portia. They were at basketball practice after a long break. Back home, Akhona had a shower and ate with Mom and Vusumzi. "I'm just gonna go over my maths notes," she told them. "Last paper tomorrow," said Mom. "Then holidays. Good night." "Put down your pens," the invigilator called across the hall. Akhona and Portia met outside. "I can't believe it's over," Portia laughed. "Let's get ice cream." As the girls entered the mall, a smiling couple approached. Pastor Dlamini, with a woman in a smart suit. He looked through Akhona and strolled by. Akhona said nothing to Portia. They ate their ice cream, took a taxi home, and waved goodbye at Portia's gate. Akhona's house was empty. She went to the bathroom, then her mother's bedroom. She swallowed every pill she could find, lay down, and fell into a deep sleep. Akhona's mother and Vusumzi arrived home with a cake to celebrate the end of exams with Akhona. "Akhona, we're home. How did it go?" Silence. Mom went to check in the bedroom. "Oh no, no! Akhona, wake up, my child!" Vusumzi ran to beg the neighbor for her car and they raced to the hospital. Akhona woke up in the hospital, weak, nauseous, and confused. Her mom squeezed her hand and held back tears. "You are my world, Akhona. Whatever happens, we can get through it together." Outside the ward, Portia told Latita, Bulelwa, and Vusumzi what happened at the mall. "That man must pay," said Vusumzi. The exam results showed Akhona was back on form, top of the class. She felt stronger and finally ready to speak out against Pastor Dlamini. Latita, Bulelwa, Mrs. Romaru, and her paralegal all went with Akhona to the police to open a case. The pastor was arrested, leaving church that Sunday. Outside the court, members of Lulibo Safe Space organized a protest, demanding that Pastor Dlamini be remanded in custody. Inside, he denied all charges. His lawyer declared, "There is no evidence against my client. He is a respected community leader. These are false allegations." Pastor Dlamini was released on bail. Akhona and Portia arrived at the safe space to find Latita and others staring at a broken gate, strewn books and trampled pumpkins. The house had been taken over by strangers. "Let's go to the police," said someone. "No," said Latita. "We will make a fresh start. We will make our neighborhood a safe space." Latita took the reading group to the community. Akhona and Portia went door to door with older members introducing themselves. Soon, there was a small group meeting in homes and yards, discussing books and planning activities together. "It's amazing," said Akhona. "Everyone we've met has something to teach or share." Sounds of drumming and chanting filled the street outside the house that Akhona and Latita planned to visit. Through the open door, they saw women dancing, swaying in bright aprons and beads. They hesitated. One of the healers called to them, "Ah, it's you! Come on in." It was dusk when the dancing finished. Akhona and Latita stayed until late. An elderly healer said, "We have heard of the court case and the occupation of the safe space. These injustices do not define us. Our power comes from the knowledge of the ancestors, our values, and our identity. Be strong." The day came when Akhona had to go to court. Outside, her family, friends, traditional healers, and school children marched with placards. "End GBV! Save our children! Dlamini, devil in disguise." Akhona told her story via a video link. On screen, she saw Pastor Dlamini laugh, but the police had found new evidence. Akhona testified in court that Pastor Dlamini made her pregnant and that when she told him, he beat her unconscious. The pastor's lawyer said, Pastor Dlamini is distressed by what happened to this young woman, but there is nothing linking him to her pregnancy or injuries. The hospital had disposed of the fetal remains after Akhona's miscarriage. The police had not taken samples. The case looked hopeless until a new witness came forward. He claimed he saw Pastor Dlamini standing close to Akhona in the dark. The police then found tracks that matched Pastor Dlamini's car tires above the bank. Pastor Dlamini's lawyer had an answer for everything. Indeed, my client was alone with the complainant that evening. She asked to meet him to discuss the problem. He drove her to a private spot to chat. When he advised her to tell her mother about the pregnancy, she ran away. The magistrate criticized the police for lack of forensic evidence. He criticized Pastor Dlamini for failing to check if Akhona was okay. Then he said the state had failed to prove that Pastor Dlamini made Akhona pregnant or assaulted her. The pastor walked free. Akhona felt numb. Everyone who supported her at court was horrified. They called for an appeal, planned a protest. On Sunday, Pastor Dlamini held a service as usual, but only 3 people attended. A few weeks later, he packed his bags and left. The court case taught Akhona a lot about what is needed to secure a conviction for sexual abuse and GBV. She soon started counseling teenagers, like her, who had been exploited from early childhood. Sexual attention from an adult to a child is not love, she told them. It is grooming. Akhona's mother also started volunteering, telling her story and advising other parents about paying attention to their children. I didn't ask questions, even when I knew something was wrong, she said. And I didn't listen when my child told me. Don't make the same mistake. Be there for your children. Soon, there were safe spaces for children in every street. Akhona and other volunteers worked with healers, shop owners, teachers, taxi associations, anyone who would speak out and stand up against abuse. Akhona's journey was long and hard, but it cleared a path for other girls to see their strengths and change their stories. Remember the pumpkins that used to grow in the safe space garden? They were smashed when the house was vandalized. Akhona, Portia, Latita and their friends collected the seeds. Now there are pumpkins sprouting all over Nyanga. In bad weather, they will wilt or dry out, but they always shoot up again. Tell us what you think about the series. Post your comments at Lulibo_projects on Instagram and Lulibo Projects on Facebook.